wait till everyone gets seated. Thank you for coming out to the second Toledo Codes event. This is our demo day. So, the idea here is we're just going to kind of show off a few projects that some folks have done. We're doing a couple show and tells, a couple deep dives into some projects. This is an evolving format, so feel free to give us feedback on the event, any ideas you have. Love to see them in the future. And with that, I do have I'm burying the lead here. At the end of this, I do have some recs for some jobs, local tech jobs, if you're on the look for a job in tech. And I'd like to introduce Mike Vanderpool with Anthony Wayne Innovation Design. He's going to talk to us about his Intro to Tech class.
I'm going to get the picture for you too, right now.
Yeah, do it.
Hi, everybody. Oh, wait, I'm going to come in here. I'll smile. Hey, say cheese or something. Thank you. All right, sweet. There you go. Got your picture for you.
Are you mic'd up? You tell me.
1 2 1 2. Check it out. I think so.
Yeah, I haven't checked the live stream to see if it's actually working.
Do I need to change my slides?
Yes.
Oh my.
You have to do it manually.
Whew. All right, there we go. Hey, so Mike Vanderpool, Anthony Wayne Innovation and Design. You might know me from LinkedIn. There's a small chance you've seen me there. I am doing an Introduction to a Career in Tech class Saturday, the 26th. So not this Saturday, but the following. It's open to anybody and everybody. 11 o'clock, come in. We'll have a conversation. I'm going to present some of the opportunities in tech. Lunch will be at noon. And after that, we'll have some guest speakers talking about opportunities in cloud, data, software development, and also design. I know most of you probably have some idea of what's going on in tech, but I'm going to challenge you to maybe invite some other folks, make sure that more people know about this opportunity. Free class, free class. One of the things that's going to roll out of that class is going to be this Introduction to Design in Tech. That's going to be a fully remote online class I'm going to do probably 1 day a week, barring holidays and everything else. Really just doing some foundational work in website design, website development, also probably like write a Python program, see who shows up, and we'll just continue to make some fun stuff happen. So really trying to get some people who might not be aware of the opportunities in tech or how to make it happen, get them into the space to actually make it happen. So follow me on LinkedIn, repost anytime I put something out there like this. It would be greatly appreciated. Last but not least, I have a little bit of a call to action here. This group, we've met twice now? Okay. This group needs to grow foundationally, right? Toledo Codes, our tech community, it has to grow in order for us to get where we want to go. One of the things I'm going to challenge everybody here, bring somebody with you. Maybe that person isn't like in tech, whatever that even means anymore, but let's be really active about pulling people into our space. We just sit around and wait for people to show up. It's not going to happen. You know somebody who could benefit from being a part of this group. Bring them in, we'll feed them, we'll welcome them, and we will just continue to engage and grow this community, because more than anything else, that's what Northwest Ohio needs, because that will lead to more opportunities for all of us. Cool? Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Always appreciated. Apparently.
Do I have to do that again?
No, I mean, it's fine. So it doesn't matter. It's too late now. All right. So you are next. I'm going to have Keith Instone come up to present the State of AI from Ohio X.
Just anywhere on here?
Yes, sir.
Does it matter?
Does not matter.
Okay. So hi, my name is Keith Instone. One thing I'm involved in is Ohio X, which is a statewide tech trade association that is trying to connect, promote, and advocate for tech in Ohio. Help us think of ourselves as a tech hub, help the rest of the world think of us as a tech hub, right? There's tech happening in Ohio. It's driving our economy. We're creating cool things in tech. Maybe not as high profile as the West Coast or the East Coast, but we're doing interesting stuff here. So one thing I've been doing with Ohio X for the past year is convening different people to talk about what AI means for Ohio. So we get together CIOs, CEOs, startups in small little roundtables, give them a series of questions. I'll share you some of the results of that one. We had a statewide survey, and we did a little sort of design session at the AI Summit that was in Columbus in the fall. Again, getting the talking about AI, what does it mean for Ohio? What are some things that we're good at? What are some things that we need to get better at? So earlier this week, we published this State of AI report that's available on ohiox.org. So I'll just go through a little bit of the findings just to get you aware of what we've been discovering. And it's really just supposed to be a conversation starter to ask more questions around AI in Ohio. So is that the next slide?
Yes.
Oops, went too far. Okay. Oh,
Here we go. Hold on. Let me help you.
Because it was oh, it's way down there. I gotta find the other little.
This is not a conducive for. Here you go. I got you.
That little one of 23 down to the bottom.
Oh my God. Turns out this PDF interface in Canva is not great.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you get it?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, I will share some results without the pictures, right? So again, we asked the question, what is AI's opportunity? And we gave people a choice of, like, are you excited about it? Are you bullish about it? Are you sort of skeptical about it? Or are you like, no way AI, no way Ohio can be a leader in it? In general, it was 50-50. About half the people said, yes, we have the stuff that it takes to be a leader in AI. And the other half said, no, well, maybe, but we have problems. Like, well, for the folks that said that we could be a leader, they quoted things like our great academic institutions that are doing research on AI, how great we are at building practical solutions to real problems and not necessarily covering the hype. The folks that were a little bit more skeptical were like, we just don't have as much talent as we need, and we definitely don't have like the risk-taking venture capital and the startup ecosystem that other parts of the world have to really innovate on it. So that was one sort of result. But we asked other questions around, at your company, where is AI at on the Gartner Hype cycle? Is it really just a technology trigger and you're just sort of learning about it? Or have you incorporated AI into your business and it's now boring business as usual? In general, we got a smattering of results all across the board. We heard from people that worked at banks and being like, this is still technology trigger. We're just figuring out what AI is because of all this regulation. We haven't started building it yet or anything. Most companies were like, we're doing proofs of concept, we're doing pilots, but we don't have anything into production. That was earlier in the year. Later in the year, then we heard about more stories of like, yeah, we've got AI in production and we're doing certain things. We're getting some AI. At the last roundtable we had in Columbus a couple weeks ago, we had somebody from Wendy's, and he was sharing stories of, if you go through the Wendy's drive-thru, like, at least from his perspective, Wendy's has the most sophisticated AI of any fast food company, right? So again, you may not think of fast food as a place where AI is being used, but they've been using it in their drive-throughs and other places a lot. So again, here's an Ohio-based company that's leading in AI in their particular in their particular industry. Talk to folks at Kroger's, the stories we've heard, Kroger's killer, they've been doing AI for a long time, right? So we heard some of those different stories, but we also heard from like construction companies, like we're a construction, I guess like Ohio has like 5 of the world's top 10 construction or concrete construction type companies, concrete companies. It's like, we're not doing anything with AI yet. We just can't figure out how to do things. And so they were there more to listen and learn. But anyway, we got a wide variety of responses. At the AI summits that we did, we had several hundred people in the room. We asked them a question around what should AI invest, what should Ohio invest in to be great at AI? By far the number one thing was education and workforce and all those things that was. Again, we're compiling this data, and then hopefully that will get in the hands of people that have money to invest in education, and that might trigger more investment in AI education across the states. Oh, there you go. You pulled up some of it. So other questions that we asked were around, just like for companies, their prioritization, to try to, we're trying to get a gauge, like at this point in time in 2024, half the companies in Ohio were at this stage. And then when we poll them again a year from now or 6 months from now, is that going up or going down? And then comparing it to some other states and other parts of the region just to help gauge where we're at in terms of AI and where we need to be. So let's see, go back. There's probably a good picture one. Keep going.
There's some pipes.
So here's an example of the Gartner Hype Cycle. And we actually were doing interactive polling, and on their phones, people were putting a dot on there where their company was at on the thing. And again, this was mostly for discussion. And in this case, it's pretty spread out. That's one pattern that we've seen. If you get a group of 50 people together, they're all over the place in terms of AI. There's no specific pattern around, right? Some companies were very advanced, some were very beginning. And we even had, at one roundtable, we had 2 people from the same company that worked in the same office, and they spent 10 minutes debating where to put their dot because they couldn't decide. Like, well, part of the company is a technology trigger over here, but this other part of the company, they've been doing AI for 20 years and they're good at it, right? So again, AI is not the thing, but the Gartner Hype Cycle is a good way to start a discussion about things within your company, within your industry. Where's it at and where's it going? So that's good enough for now. I'm just letting you know this AI report is out there. I'll pause for questions, then we'll go on to the next one. So again, yes, it's.
Were you surprised by what you saw from these results, number one? And number two, is the state doing anything? Is there any action plan to say, hey, we want to improve what's going on?
So most of it was not surprising. I mean, my gut told me that companies would be all over the place, but we got the documentation. And then the interesting part was in the details. Like when we were in Cleveland, we got some little bit different answers than we did in Cincinnati and Columbus. So for example, Cincinnati is really far ahead in anything that's consumer facing, right? Because of Procter & Gamble and all the great at marketing, right? So they told stories where they actually had AI in production where like customers could find it. So like the Kroger's, right, and so on. Whereas like in Cleveland, it tends to be more manufacturing, and they were just doing things internal. They was like, no, we're not ready to put AI in production in front of our banking customers yet, right? So there were some interesting variations. And your other question is like, what is the state doing about it? The question is, what do you mean by the state? Because there's many ways to interpret the state. So one would be the state government, but one would also just be us as the state. So for example, most members of Ohio X are companies in the private enterprise, right? So what are these companies doing around AI? And some of them are research has triggered. Some of them are like, well, like we just need to collaborate more. So like what happened at some of the roundtables was like one company in Columbus, like we're pretty advanced on AI, and one of their peer companies in Columbus wasn't as advanced. They were in different industries, so they just started talking and sharing stories, so that in Columbus they can help each other out, right? So in one sense, the state is the private sector is collaborating with the private sector. In other parts, we did have like Jobs Ohio and government people in the room so they could listen. It's like, maybe we should write some policy. Maybe we should allocate some third frontier funding into AI. Maybe we should do that. So hopefully they'll listen to that one, and that will help them understand what's going out across the rest of the state so that they can help them. Other questions? Yes, Greg.
What's next?
So we're doing some more roundtables. We've already done some more roundtables in Cleveland, in Cincinnati, and Columbus. We're going to do Cleveland next week. Then we're going to do another round. We're going to do another AI summit in the fall, so that will be another point to collect data. And it's just an ongoing thing of just listening and sharing what we learn. So, and again, we would love to do an AI roundtable in Toledo, but the company that's sponsoring it can only afford 3 cities. So hopefully at some point we will do one of these roundtables, and we'll get like CIOs from Toledo companies and make it easier for them to participate.
Well, is this like our state competing against other states?
There's a part of it. Right? Part of it is just helping our states work together better, right? But one of the other goals would be one thing that Ohio X is good at is telling stories and promoting it. So we have a lot of like readers of our newsletters that are from outside of Ohio, and this is how they get a sense of what's going on in Ohio. And again, we have Ohio Tech News, which does just some basic reporting. But like normally what happens in tech is like something happens in Cleveland. It's pretty cool around a health tech company. it gets published in the Cleveland area, but nobody else in Ohio knows what's going on because you have to subscribe to a news site behind a paywall in Cleveland. And if you live in Cincinnati, you're not going to bother subscribing to a news site behind a paywall in Cleveland, right? So some of it is just telling those stories so that we know what's going on, and we are getting attention from people from outside. So every once in a while, like we'll get contacted by somebody in Europe, like, hey, I'm thinking of setting up a business in Ohio. You've got all this stuff. What's happening in Ohio, right? So it has this external facing part as well. Yes.
So AI is so fast. AI is so fast.
So vast.
Yeah.
You're right. Yep. Yep.
So in terms of Columbus, what players that out for those and maybe the kind of industry that you're on, maybe we start with you.
Right. So a lot of AI right now is really just supporting the given industries, right? I'll start with Columbus. Like Columbus already has lots of insurance companies, right? And so we're seeing AI for insurance companies based there, right? So versus some new industry like doing AI in to do life science research, right? That's not going to come to a region unless they have a lot of life science research, right? So when we issued the survey, we did. So, but the folks that filled out our AI survey from Toledo, they tended to report things like what should we invest in. They mentioned things like startup ecosystem and things like that one. We had some people in Toledo that are interested in AI startup companies, and that was a little bit higher proportion than the rest. The rest of the state, we tended to hear from like, we just need AI for manufacturing, right? So at this point, it's really just I would say AI is magnifying what each of the regions is already good at, right? So around here, we're doing AI to help glass manufacturers around here because that's where we have glass manufacturers, right? So that's sort of the first wave, but it would be interesting to talk about as we start to do new things with AI. The hype of like, what do you mean by AI? Oh, I was talking generative AI. Oh, well, generative AI we haven't been doing for 20 years. We've only been doing that for 1 year. But this other kind of, predictive analytics, we've been doing that one forever, right? So some of it's teasing that apart. I went over my time limit.
You did. That's okay, Keith.
So I think I'm all done. Thanks for playing along and letting me share this.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. So we're doing this a little ad hoc. I think the intention was we would have like a 5-minute Q&A afterwards for each of these. And now we're getting into some more of the talks or the presentations here. So Greg is going to do a little more show and tell. We have one more show and tell and then 2 demos to show off tonight, which should be pretty compelling. So one of Greg here will be showing off some things you learned at, I'll let you intro your Svelte, yeah. I'll be doing a demo for MCP, which is Model Context Protocol with Claude. We'll do something fun, generating a random 3D model in Blender. And then we have Jeremy Schroeder, who will be showing off Spaceport. I think we're going to save you the best for last. And then I'm going to show off Actual Realities, our AI tool for writing grants. So we'll have a few of them, not as many as I would have liked, but this is the first demo day, so practice. We'll figure this format out eventually. You have to mirror, yeah. And then this is the mic.
All right, I don't do this every day. I'm on display.
Oh, up here in the upper left hand, this little 2 dots. If you click that, see the 2 bars? No, the one next to it.
This one?
Yeah. There's screen mirroring. It's not loving this. We're trying to screen mirror right now. Technical difficulties, of course.
I could wheel out my desktop over here. I have HDMI on this side.
Oh, do you? Maybe we try that. Yeah, the camera cable is very fickle, so. You got enough space?
Something's happening.
Oh, okay, cool. Now you can click that guy and actually allow the screen. Yeah, that guy. Yep. And then just choose content.
All right. Okay. I'm pretty sure I'm standing in front of everybody.
This guy.
All right. This is a mic.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. How am I coming in now? 4x4. All right. You in the back, I mean, can you see this even? I mean, get binoculars out to see? All right. I'll do my best. This is not something I do very often, but so I had a good friend who had a bunch of clients, and she was like, I can't do it anymore. You got to take over. So I'm like, great. Some were in WordPress, some were just different kinds of things, and one was a Svelte kit project. And this is the site that I took over. This is her client is specialized in a special kind of like horse rider training type thing called dressage. Has anybody ever heard of dressage? Yeah, okay, there's some people out there. So this is a PDF I made of the original site. What jumps out at you at this? We're talking about like English, horseback riding, and things. What do you, just looking at this, like this is the home page. What do you think? Does this excite you? Well, I mean, yeah, horseback riding. Well, to me, the font was like, this is just a big, thick, it's a heavy, like Gothic font. It's just sort of it's just a dense font. And, well, this Svelte kit, you can do light mode, dark mode really easily. So here we're looking at kind of like a dark mode version of this website. And, I mean, this is just to the front of the site. You can see this is a page right here. The original developer, she used like a JSON type thing. So she put this content here, where this blob that you see, she put that in like in a JSON thing and just fed it in. So each of these sections that talk about the different services that you're going to get, it's just this, organization. It looks like it's got some kind of a like semantic thing where you have, bigger fonts and smaller fonts, and there is kind of a flow, but it's really impossible, like just looking at that, it's hard to like skim through that content and get something out of it. Like I would look at that and go, okay, and just someone's going to have to tell me what this says, because I don't have time to like read through this and parse through what are all the costs of like this, like the board, which is like boarding my horse, right? It's like they're going to keep my horse in the stable, and there's going to be cost involved. There's going to be costs for training and all of these different things. There's some pricing. This section is actually not too bad. I mean, you can look at this right away and see lessons, private lessons, and you see there's pricing next to it, and it's pretty good, you know, content organization wise. So I was like partly dreading this project because it just seemed like this is going to be a lot of work, and then maybe I'm going to have to take this like content and, you know, like lay it out and really actually format it, which and I was just like, what do I do? Calgon, take me away. So does this work? Right, okay. So this is, and I mean, I know a lot of you may be not into this, but this is, I went back into the Git history and I found this is, you may not recognize it, but this is JSON. You know, there's a bracket, here's a bracket, here's that blob of content we just looked at and was just like disgusted by. That's awful. Okay. So, oh, all right. Oops, sorry about that. Here we go. So this was my remake. So, and here's what I did with that blob. So that content now, at least you in the back, you can't read what this says, but it looks better, right? It's got bullet points and it's got like the pricing is a lighter color. It's a white color, you know, it's like, it looks better. It just feels better. Like I want to give them money and I don't even like have a horse, but it's like, this is like, yeah, I love it. And so, and you can see this is like each section is like nicely laid out and every other has got a different color background. So it's easy to like flow through that, you know. And then this part, the types of lessons and pricing, you can feel, yeah, that's about us, but everything is lined up, you know, it looks good. And on mobile, it looks good. So how did I achieve this? Did I stay with the JSON, which was what I was fearing? And my answer is yes. Yes, I kept the JSON. But how did I do it? How did I do it? So I got to figure out where my thing is. I think it's behind here. So, so there is this, whoops. Let's go here first. Okay, so there is this, and I know you can't read this, right? But I'm going to zoom in a lot. I found a package. So there's this package called Marked. And so has anybody worked with Marked? Marked is like he has. So Markdown, it's like a Markdown thing that you can plug into your site that helps you with something that's like Markdown. And what's Markdown? Who's used like Markdown to like write a blog post, right? And so like when you want to make like a H1 heading, what do? How do you in the middle there? Pound, space, and then the word, right? And that's how you get an H1. How do you get an H2? Pound and space, and then the word, and then you get the H2, right? And it's the same for all of the levels of heading. But what about like boldface? You probably can't do boldface, can you, with Markdown? Boldface, italics, an asterisk, right? So you can use like, there's 1 asterisk, 2 asterisks, depends on the form. I mean, and there's all different kinds of Markdown, right? There's a Git has its own Markdown. There's like everybody's got their own flavor. But this tool, you probably can't read this. Zoom in a little more. So like they actually, so you can like within the code, you can say mark.use and then give it some info, and you can do a lot of cool specifications. I don't want to take you through it, but essentially I figured it out. I figured out what to do. And so in my code, Yeah, this works. So, like where we'll point this out, but like you can see the double asterisk around veterinary farrier services, right? Veterinarian and farrier services. That distinctively has Markdown wrapped around it, and these, you can't see it. It's in red on this dark. You can't see it, but like /n /n. That's that makes a carriage return, right? So that creates a new line, and this little angle bracket makes it like tabs it in. So like everything wraps around on that tab in. So it's nice. It's like right. It's creating an outline. You're creating content that's digestible that people can use. The hyphens, that makes a bullet point. And so this offers you a pattern that you're able to like plug in to just like JSON things. Pretty easy to remember what to do, and you can build a beautiful output, but like just by using code without having to go in like in your Word document and format it. You can achieve great things using these like simple formatting techniques. And then the one thing that I think, I mean, you know, people may say that's crazy, but the one thing that I did, so here's the marked code, but this section here, this renderer, actually, so when I told it I wanted bold, right? I wanted the text to be bold. I can do more than just that. So anything that's got the bold tags around it, we can like reach out to the style sheet, and I can put different classes in here. So I can say, like this is assuming I want that style, but like if I want color primary, now if we go to our web page and look for that, where did it go? Where is farrier? Okay, my primary, that doesn't stand out because primary is already that color. But if we say, let's say, if we want it to be italics, I think that's a class that I have. Now you can see this veterinarian farrier services is italic. So everything that's bold, now I can force everything to be consistently whatever kind of custom styles that I want to give it. And I just think this, I guess this is the end of my talk, but this was a fun project. I learned a lot of cool things just by like saying, what can I do with this? You know, and I need this. Can I figure it out? And it worked. And I'm going to be doing a lot more with this. So I started the blog, and I'm going to be talking about this. I'm going to be adding Sanity, a content management system, to this. And maybe I'll come and give another talk and kind of talk about how that's going. But this is a fun project. These kind of projects can really teach you a lot about yourself. And like what you can accomplish. So what are the questions? What everybody's got their hands up, or they're practically going to ask about the questions. What kind of questions?
Greg, with a site like this, let's say I was looking for that halfway something. Did you consider, or possibly in the future, you go to the main page and just having a menu of, hey, I don't want to scroll down and find half leasing. I just want to go to it. Would you be able to easily do that with this site?
I mean, like with any website, would be like, I mean, it does have navigation, but it would just go to like the services page.
Yeah, I didn't know if you, yeah, make it. Like,
But there's probably like, we could put like a little list of like anchor items at the top so that people can click on it, or in the opening paragraph, and I could have anchor links that jump down to that. That would be a good idea.
this if somebody wanted to, hey, this is all I'm looking for. I want to go right to that group.
It's funny about this industry because I thought I should be, you know, I'm like a content person. I want to like make everybody feel comfortable with the content. But you go and talk to people that work in or that like are students of dressage, and they're like, no, you don't need to explain anything. We already know what we're looking for. They're a like very narrow group of well-educated, well-knowing people, and so it's a different world.
Thank you so much, Greg. Let's give everyone. Let's give Greg. Oh, did you have a question? You got a question over your Dan.
Oh no.
You specify custom markdown patterns like you obviously said dash and pound signs, whatever. Would you introduce an entirely new character and have that do something in markdown?
In the marked package, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, as part of the markdown.
I think that it only works with the known things, but by using that specification of like, you could apply any kind of like custom classes to that style, you can build up upon what you could normally just do with like making something bold. You can make the text bigger, change the text color. You can just do a lot of different things.
Well, thank you, Greg.
Sorry, that went long.
Oh, you're good. You're good. So for those who don't know, Greg is an organizer for the local Google developer group. And if you're interested, I think right now, Google developer group is mainly doing geek dinners, just getting together at like Mommy Bay or some restaurant and just having some beers and talking about tech. So thank you, Greg. Cool. So again, another little fun presentation. You know, I'm gonna show off something. There's a 30% chance this will work. So we're just gonna see what happens here. I'm just gonna go ahead and mirror my screen. I am gonna restart Claude. I'm gonna open up Blender. Again, this 30% chance this is going to work. All right. All right. So what I have is just Blender, okay? And for those who are unlearned, Blender is a open source 3D modeling software. The other bit of this talk I mentioned MCP. What does that mean? MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It is a protocol or a standard for what we call tools. And what this means, this standard, first of all, was put out by Anthropic. Anthropic is an AI company, one of the early I believe he's a co-founder or very early in OpenAI, left, who, if those who don't know OpenAI, that's ChatGPT, left, started Anthropic, and has this fantastic foundational model called Claude. In particular, I'm using Claude Sonnet 3.7, which is their newest version of this model. And what MCP does is it's a standardized protocol for communicating with tools. And I mentioned that earlier. What are tools? Tools are ways that we can make our LLMs do additional things. It's like adding superpowers to it. Effectively, anything you can code with Python, JavaScript, etc., anything that follows this protocol, you can make happen with your LLM, right? So the kind of opportunities are sort of endless with it. There's a lot of things you could do with it. I have a ridiculous amount of tools hooked up to my personal Claude. I think 89 is the count here. It does a whole bunch of stuff. I can scrape sites. I can do some things in Git. You know, we can talk about this afterwards if you guys are interested in the specifics of it. I just started really getting familiar with it, and so I thought this would be fun. So as a part of this, again, 30% chance this is going to work. But does anybody have an idea for a 3D model they would want me to generate right now? It can be anything. Yes, Dan. Rubber duck. All right. So I'm going to say generate me a 3D model in Blender. I have to be specific here. What is this thing called? Hyper 3D. Using Hyper 3D of a rubber duck. Okay. Now I've got to give it permissions. You know, it's going to be accessing some. Let's see here. Okay. Allow. I'll allow it. Okay. So it's enabled. It's going to send another thing here. And what is this doing? Right now, this is using 30% chance. Oh. We might not be able to use, it's going to try using Python instead. So what it's doing is it's generating Python code. And we're going to start seeing it do something here. Let me just put a little side by side here. Why not? So on the right, I've got Claude cooking. On the left, Blender, basic default scene. We'll see what happens. I was hoping for Hyper 3D. Effectively, that's kind of a cheat because Hyper 3D is a text to 3D model. Oh, another tool call. Okay. Oh, it made something. I don't know that looks. Oh, it seems okay. Yep. Gotcha. It's doing something here.
Are you touching Blender, or is it?
I'm trying to interact with it right now, but
Is it apologizing to you? Does it say?
It does. It did apologize to me. It says it apologized. It seems the specular property is not available. Okay, that does not look like a rubber duck yet. We may get there. I don't know.
You may need to tell it what color it needs to be.
Oh, it says it did it. Let's see. Okay, and it's going to try to take a screen. That does not look like a rubber duck Blender.
Maybe turn it around. Maybe it's shy.
Yeah, my MacBook is being fickle with this right now. Uh-oh. Oh, that that is not a rubber duck.
Rubber nipple.
Yes, yep, that's the rubber duck, ladies and gentlemen. That was my demo. You've never seen a rubber duck like this one before. Oh my God.
Be patient.
Apparently we need to be more patient here. Was it still work? It's still working. Oh, let's zoom in. Now you'll see a little bit of artifacts here. That's because it's on the fly rendering, right? For those who aren't aware, you actually have to there's a camera that you can see it right there in the background that actually takes the photograph when we render. Okay, that's actually not bad. It's kind of looks like a rubber duck now. I kind of preferred it when it was just a nipple. Aw. You didn't know. Another tool call.
Could you point it to a website that says this is a picture of a rubber duck?
I mean, it's the sky's the limit, right? I have web scraping enabled in here using browser base right now. Don't do it. It costs money. There are other solutions for that, but yeah, you can. Let's see what did it say? Let's see. It's trying to do a touch up on this, and then yeah, we can sort of communicate with it and tell it to move the camera around, etc. Oh, there it goes. 30% chance it sort of worked, but you get the idea. And so what I really just wanted to demonstrate is that MCP, the whole model context protocol, is really interesting. There's a bunch of tools you can do. This is very early, right? This stuff is very brand new. So you can imagine what's going to happen in a year with this kind of thing, right? So I'll open the floor to any questions about MCP, the demo, etc. Yes, Mike. No, I mean, so I personally, it depends on how you define agentic. No, it's a tool call. I personally define an agent being and if in normal software is fairly deterministic, right? The control flow of the application is handled by the programmer, right? At when I write my code, right? Whereas an agent would be an LLM controlling the context flow or the control flow of an application. That's how I would define it. In this case, no, this is not an agent.
When I was going on with ChatGPT today on that resume thing, it actually said, "You want to build something, the template for this in Canva?" And I hit yes, so it's trying to do stuff externally, but it didn't. So it was just pretend one with a ChatGPT pretend.
Okay,
But
yeah.
it's trying.
Yeah, and I think that in that context, it would be an agent. There's an agent using tool calls on the behalf. I guess in some ways you could say this is an agent, but anyways, it doesn't matter. I just thought it'd be fun to show this off. So for this demo day, I'm just keeping it simple. Next week or next month, we have a user research talk that we're going to be doing. We're not done yet. There's a lead here. In June, we're going to be doing Toledo Codes is going to be doing an AI day. So hopefully we'll have some more conversations about MCP. We'll do some live vibe coding, etc. But yeah, thank you.
What's been the most useful tool?
I have not found any of them to be really useful in my workflow yet. Like, right, I have said, oh, go check out a Git repository for me, and build it, generate a virtual environment for Python, pip install, etc. But at the end of the day, none of that's really super helpful to me, right? I could go do that just as quickly. So it's not quite there yet in my workflow.
It's still in the infancy stage, correct?
Yes, still very infant, yeah.
Where do you see the practical application for that one? Does get past infancy? If it would have worked perfect tonight, where would that be in the real world?
I mean, in this context, there's a lot of things you could do with that. I could take that 3D model, drop it into a video game. So you can imagine the future of I can imagine a 10-year-old being able to just use Claude, generate 3D model, brand new, unique 3D model assets for a video game that they want to make, drop that right into Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine handles some of the complexities of that. And I imagine we'll have like auto rigging, which is where you kind of like put the skeletal structures for 3D models, and you'll have auto animations. They already kind of have that with procedurally generated animations. So I can foresee 10-year-olds being able to make their own games and such. Now, of course, there's some ethical quandaries with some of this stuff, but we won't get into that. Yeah.
Maybe like 3D printing, like being able to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Find what it is you want.
Text to 3D print, right? I think the opportunity is really endless, right? Like you can really hook these up to anything, and it's text to whatever you want interface.
If somebody who's taught that Blender stuff, like it takes weeks for just a human to get that point sometimes.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm very unlearned in Blender. I've only used it a little bit, but it is a process and not one that I'm a fan of. So. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was not one of those, but fair enough. Okay.
They know what they know, and these tool calls kind of like let the large language model kind of interact with some systems you've built and act on the context of that as opposed to just like its general knowledge. And so in this case, it's using a tool and making a rubber duck, but another tool could be, like he said, like web scraping. It could scrape a specific resource and then use that, in its output. So it's really like tools for the LLM.
What I saw going on there, again, I'm not love New York. I saw this trying to say, okay, I know what duck means, and I know what rubber means, so I'm going to try to do this. Where it's to me, it's like, okay, that should have been something simple up there like that, because there's a zillion pictures of rubber ducks on the internet. Like, why didn't it just go and do that? It's almost like it said, no, we're going from ground zero. Is that what's happening, and that's why that?
Yeah, initially it was using something called Hyper 3D, which is its own text to 3D model service. I was hoping that would work because it's much more impressive. I think I had somebody randomly say some bird, and it like perfectly rendered this bird. But that's Hyper 3D doing the work, not Claude and Blender. But, you know, yeah, it's just building the blocks of it, you know, from it contextualizing, knowing that it's speaking about a rubber duck. What does a rubber duck look like? Breaking that down into like its basic geometric shapes, and then writing Python code to generate that in Blender.
But it's going from like the base level as opposed to you. When he said rubber duck, I think, okay, I can picture that. You say 3D, it's like, okay, that's gonna be a real cool looking one. But it did the opposite.
It did not work. Again, 30% of the time. I figured it probably wouldn't work too well, but it did okay. Yeah.
You heard everybody shit the
It lied. Yeah. Yes. They're all on GitHub. So if you just look for MCP servers, there's like some collections of them. I'll likely post some of that on the Toledo Codes LinkedIn page. If you're not following, please do. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and like I said, it's really just anything you want to do. You could write your own Python function that, like, you know, another thing that I dreamed up is like if you do a lot of projects like I do, I have a structure that I follow in Google Drive. So I'm like working on one that I can just like fire a Claude command and it goes off into Google Drive and creates my structure and puts my templates in place so that you could have a whole project set up in a few seconds with using Claude. So there's, you know, sky's the limit, really. You can do almost anything, which is pretty cool.
Maybe just go back to the question, but MCP, so it has certain applications that can be used separately as this application that it can use.
Yes.
Is it able to do everything in Blender? Is it able to do every set of tool in Blender?
Well, that's really up to, so Blender has a Python SDK. So somebody who wasn't me wrote an integration to that SDK. And so no, right? It's limited to what the SDK can do, and then it's also limited by what the package authored wrote as well. Yes.
How much money do you spend to have that money?
That is zero. It's free. It's free to hook up tools. You can use. I have a few MCP servers on Cursor as well. Really, it's a standard. So OpenAI is accepting it. They'll be using it as well. But it doesn't cost, only the tokens that you input. And even then, I'm not using API, so it's just my monthly usage limit. Cool. Yeah. So my first demo was MCP. I'm rolling into an actual demo here, a piece of software that myself and my team at Actual Reality have written. The tool is called GrantWise. We've been working on it for 4 months or so, so it's still pretty early. But what the tool does is leverages multiple foundational models. We're using, you know, I can't even recall them all right now. Grok, GROQ Grok, not GROK Grok. GROQ is a GROQ Grok is a very, very fast LLM. But what I'm going to show you is we're going to walk through basically setting up a program. It's not going to be as exciting as the MCP thing, I don't think. But I just wanted to show it off regardless. And so I have the server running locally right now. I'll go ahead and open it up. See if the curse of the demo hits me. Yes, it did. It did. It did it again. I'll go to our deployed version. Don't look. Just kidding. Okay, so we wrote this tool in Next.js. We're using Material UI for our design system. And we have a few technology choices that we choose at Actual Reality. So we do that for a reason. We work with mostly fresh graduates. And so a lot of the idea is just to simplify our stack. So latest version of Next.js, latest version of React, latest version of Material UI. We pretty much all universally use Cursor, although I think a lot of us are dialing back our usage of it. Even with the framework that I talked about in the last Toledo Codes talk, generative AI code is slop, so to speak, and we have to be very diligent about reviewing it. And the other bits we use is lane chain and lane graph. So there are a lot of different tools for interacting with these LLMs. We chose lane graph and lane chain because it seems to be well supported. There's a big ecosystem around it, and I'm a big fan of graphs. So lane graph being a DAG made the obvious choice. We've already got some things set up in here. The main TLDR for this tool is the use case is I am a nonprofit or I am a for-profit company. I set up my organization within the tool. You might have a few docs. I think we have Empowered AI set up here. And you might configure some context for it. You might give it some, you might give it like I forget what the document's called at the top of my head right now, but any of your nonprofit documentation, that's all applied as context that's used throughout the application. It starts with a dashboard, but it's really a 3-step process. The first step is creating a program. It looks like Toledo Codes already exists, so I'll start Toledo Codes 2, just for funsies. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to leverage our suggestion tool. This is going to be using GROQ Grok. And before I do this demo, actually, let me do something. I'm going to take a step back because I just realized I had some stuff in local storage, and that's why it populated so quickly. So I'm going to have to quickly sign back in. Again, thrilling stuff. I think the MCP one was a bit more fun. There we go. Okay, so I get to author this now. So Toledo Codes. I'm going to go to the Toledo Codes website and just rip our. Actually, let's go to our mission statement. We're going to go Toledo Codes 2. This is a new project we're starting. And so now when I hit next, what's going to happen is it's going to take the context I have for the organization we've established. That's Empowered AI. That's a real nonprofit, by the way, that we are a part of. Some of us here in the audience. LaShawn back there also. Welcome, LaShawn. And so what's going to happen now is I'm going to go next. I'm going to go through, you can see here on the checklist, we're going to go through program details, our goals and focus area, program components, and financial and need assessment. And I have a question. How many of you are grant writers in here? Okay, that's about, okay, so tangentially. I asked that because I assumed the audience would be none. I think some of us can who are at actual can partially raise our hands now. We spent a grueling week learning about grant writing. And so I'll just show off some of this. So let's go ahead and see what happens. This is using GROQ Grok. This is dynamically generated right now on the fly. And it's pretty compelling, right? So the project objectives, it says increase the number of software developers, designers, and entrepreneurs participating in Toledo Codes 2 workshops, events by 25% within the first year. That feels fairly doable and grounded. Establish a mentorship program connecting 50 experienced tech professionals with 50 aspiring tech professionals in Toledo within the first 6 months. Again, maybe 50 probably won't work in Toledo, but we'll, not too far off, right? And I'll skip over the objectives for now, but we do have other tools, so I can regen that output. I can enhance it a bit. It'll take and tweak that output. A lot of this is changing. Actually, this whole regen thing I just showed you is changing as we're literally today working on a chat assistant alongside of this. It generated a project duration. It said a 12-month duration. Phase 1 was building the foundation, months 1 to 3. Again, this is dynamically generated, right? We've prompted it, of course, there are system prompts we have in place, but this is giving you actual grounded information for your grant. You can tweak some of this and part of it or just use it directly. It came up with project impact, so let's read the short-term impact. Toledo Codes 2 will empower Northwest Ohio residents with in-demand tech skills through engaging workshops, mentorship opportunities, and networking events. This will directly increase participants' enjoyability, boost their confidence in pursuing tech careers, and foster a vibrant community of tech enthusiasts contributing to the region's innovation ecosystem. Not great, but decent output. Let's move on to the goals and focus area. So again, it's generating this. GROQ Grok, I'm advertising for them. It's lightning fast. So if you need really fast output, that model's really good. Short-term focus, cultivating a vibrant tech mentorship network in Toledo by connecting experienced professionals with aspiring developers, designers, and entrepreneurs. That is one of our goals here at Toledo Codes. And I'll go on to the next bit of this, the program components. Again, I'm not going to read all the nuance here. There's a ton of detail here, but each of these have their own, tailored system prompts. And if for those who don't know what I mean by that, all that really means is we've hard-coded some text, the prompt that you talk to your ChatGPT with. We've hard-coded that in the back end, and it's taking all the context you've added and using that to author this, right? So you get, the idea is, and the temperature is really low. So for those who don't know what that means, if the temp is hot, if the temp is between 0 and 1, temp is 1, that means it's going to hallucinate every single thing that you tell it, everything it generates, right? 0 means it's going to try and be as factual as possible. We're using very, very, very low temp on this to try and ground it in facts. And like I said, we're using multiple models for this. So I think I mentioned Grok, Claude Sonnet. I think some of my engineers back here would know better than I at this point. But again, resources required. Most of this makes sense. We'd need a program coordinator. I guess that's me right now. Workshop and event space rental. Thank you, Chris and the Tech Loft. Anyways, moving on, evaluation methods. It came up with a bunch of these. Came up with a sustainability plan. And I'm just going to try to move on here. All right, so it's generated a need statement and a budget. Now, this is one of the only few parts where we actually built some tools. This budget right here will sum the numbers you see here and do basic math, arithmetic. Wouldn't call it math, but arithmetic. And now, excuse me, it is confirming our total budget by effectively summing up all the numbers within that big blob of text. And it's going to tell us roughly how much our budget is. It's pretty accurate, but we'll see what happens. Yes?
When you're ready for a grant, though, there's usually an outline or something, isn't there? Like your.
That's what this is.
This is creating a grant application for someone else.
So effectively, what this is this is creating the program. So we have two entities in our system, right? We have the program. You can think of that as like a project. I am starting this project or program in my organization. Whatever that project is. Toledo Codes, for example, is a project, right? I'm going to go ahead and confirm this budget real quick and move on. Okay, so it created the program for us. So within a program, right, maybe I need to raise, this one said, what did it say my budget was for this? I need to raise $210,000, right? How do I do that? I'm probably going to submit multiple grants, right? So I would create a new proposal and I would give it an RFP. That's a request for proposal. So I'm going to give it a foundational, although this is probably a bad idea because these are usually our worst RFPs in performance, but we're just going to go for it. Of course, I don't have it readily available because why would I? I'm going to do the Rotary Foundation of Toledo. So I'm going to go ahead and have this do a little analysis on it. This is going to run and check to see if this request for proposal is actually viable for my organization and my program. So in the back end, it's making several LLM calls to figure this out. And while it's doing that, any other questions? Yeah? Okay. Vince, yeah?
You're doing a grant request on behalf of Toledo Codes 2?
Yes.
And you're searching for what places that have money does it match up with?
So not quite. That's in phase 3 for our app. We're not. I've given it an RFP. We're actually moving on to our phase 3 for this app is discovery, but I've selected a grant for it.
Selected Toledo Rotary.
Yes.
And you said this looks pretty good. Now you're seeing if what you created matches up with what they need.
Yes, right. What happens is it's actually looking at the request for proposal document. It's like we fine-tuned a model to effectively extract out any required sections within there. So if that RFP says something like, you need to have an executive summary, you need to have a budget statement, et cetera, right? It's pulling all that out and saying, and including that in the proposal it's going to generate here in a second. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just wanted, I was just trying to keep up. What have you done here? The money's over here, you've got requests.
Yeah, that's the next piece of the pie. We're working towards that, where effectively, now that we have the viability scans put in place, you can imagine we'd have like an agent deployed that actually goes out and we have a database of these RFPs and we start checking to see if these are viable for your organization. And then we'll automatically, effectively generate a grant for you on your behalf. So the idea is you have to do very little and it can generate a grant.
I think I
Wait, hold on. One question behind you, real quick. Sorry, Greg.
So, can anybody use this, or will
Yes.
it come to you to use this?
Anybody can use it. We're going to be opening it up in the next couple of weeks for anyone to sign up to subscribe and use the tool.
And they're using this to like request the grant get saved, or they're using it to apply for existing?
They're using it to actually write the grant for them. It authors the entire grant for you. Yes, to apply. A grant to apply, a grant application, a grant proposal, so to speak, is what the term is. Yeah.
So the first part of the tool that you were walking us through, that creates a lot of like foundational content
Yes.
that any organization that survives by grants would provide, right?
Yes.
So it fills out a lot of these like very commonly managed components. And then this part that you threw it at a rotary thing.
Yep.
RFP, but these RFPs exist. There's thousands of these out
Yeah,
there.
it could have been a government grant or a grant RFP, any of them, yeah.
We'll have a search that will basically just go out and
Eventually, yes.
identify, right? Or a person could identify them and just throw them there. And then it fills out the parts of the grant that it has information on, right?
It fills out the entire thing. So it can write anywhere up to like 30 pages roughly of a grant for you in about 10 to 15 minutes. That's fairly compelling. And well, I mean, yes, but and then the more you use the tool, the better it gets, right? The more context it gets. And we do that in the back end. We are using a vector source or generate embeddings for that. And that effectively lets us do like a semantic search for some of the values to make sure what I'm speaking to here is that some of these large language models have what we call a context window, and that determines the number of input and output tokens. Those are like chunks of words that it can input or output. I'm going to go ahead and generate this proposal. This is a proposal document. Let's see what happened here. Okay, so it said main section, project goals. It extracted something out like there. Again, some of these are kind of hit or miss with the foundational models. We're working on that. But it extracted this from the, and it successfully extracted. So again, let me pull up the grant here just to demonstrate this. Pull up the RFP.
Sorry for the people that have to read these.
Yeah, so this proposal for the Toledo Rotary Club, this RFP, sorry, says the maximum grant amount is $10,000. And then around here, it says grant application deadlines are July 31st and January 31st, right? So the tool accurately predicted, oh, okay, July 31st, we'll go to the next date in the future. And it pulled out the amount of $10,000, right, for that particular proposal. And now once I click generate proposal, it's going to go off on the back end. And you can still see we make a nice little summary of that RFP. You can view the RFP within the tool. But this is GrantWise. We'll be releasing it within the next, I think mid-May is our target release date. And I just wanted to show off something cool with it. So thank you all. All right, just getting you set up here. I think you should be good. Did you? Oh, you shrunk it. Okay. So I'm going to bring up Jeremy. Jeremy's going to talk about his tool, Spaceport. Let's give it up for Jeremy. Yep, I do. Yep, I'm terrible at this job. I know, right?
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. All right. Come on now. There we go. I'm Jeremy. Actually, I need my little cheat sheet here too. All right, yeah, everybody, thanks for being here. I got to say, only 3 months ago, I started to get into this scene. I guess 4 months ago, late December. Let's put it that way. And I didn't know there were other programmers in Toledo. So it's been pretty incredible to meet everybody and see like all of the things that are happening at the Tech Loft and with Toledo Codes. I've met a lot of great people. And so I am a software engineer and programmer. I do quite a bit of that, but my full-time work is I'm a graphic artist and team manager for a company called Off Contact. We do like graphical displays and vehicle wraps and stuff like that. And so I've been doing that for about 13 years. But I've also, just a fun fact, been mayor of my village for 9 years, won 4 elections. And so most of my, in fact, all of my 30s have been kind of like doing public service. And so this year, no longer in that sector. And so it's kind of exciting, because I'm really able to kind of hone in on, some of the technical stuff that I love to do. So just about 1 year ago, in fact, it was on my LinkedIn. It popped up like, "Hey, 1 year, congratulations!" I started an LLC called OJ Tech with my 14-year-old son, and so he's my business partner. He's wicked smart. I've taught him a lot of stuff. But no, he actually teaches me a lot too. And so, this was like really kind of an opportunity to do some freelance work and enable Ali to, fix computers and troubleshoot people's networks, right? So we started that up a year ago, and we also have a common interest in server hosting, and so we're both extremely skilled with Linux and like virtualization. And so this picture right here is us placing our first enterprise server in a server farm or whatever you would call that, a data center, yeah, right outside of Lima. And so we have about a dozen servers. But I think we have like 5 or 6 of them like up and going and online. And so that's a picture of that. But what I want to talk to you today about is a project that I've been almost embarrassingly working on for like 10 years. I have used it, for myself, for many projects. In fact, here's like just a couple. I've made various tools for Off Contact, and so you can kind of see up here in the corner, that's like a work order system. It pairs with a TV, works on your phone. I've also done like estimating software for Off Contact. I have a neat little project that I wish I could spend more time on, which is like a multi-player mud. It is a thing in the 90s. It's before EverQuest, right? People were like logging in with text and, you know, playing D&D with one another. And so I have like a reincarnation of that using my framework. And then a project that I was like really like starting to enjoy, but unfortunately the pizza place went under while I was doing the project. But I have most of a pizza ordering system that I've made with Spaceport. And so you might ask, like, what is Spaceport? So it's basically a comprehensive full stack web application framework. And I've engineered it to make building applications dynamic, fast, and scalable. And so it leverages a couple like technologies on the back end. Jetty, and you don't even really interact with Jetty, although you can. But that's, you know, a server by Apache. Anyone familiar with Apache? Yeah, there you go. Okay. So that's a project that they have. It's very mature, very scalable, fast web server. And so at Spaceport's core, you know, it is a web server. And then for the database, I've chosen CouchDB, and that was a choice 10 years ago, and I still think it's a great choice. It's a super awesome no SQL basically document database, and so Spaceport's kind of built on top of that. And then really like the whole like thing that kind of brings it together is Groovy, a language I fell in love with around that same time, right? It runs on the Java virtual machine, so it's like basically 100% interoperability with Java. And so I think the cool thing about Groovy is you can kind of like, if you're familiar with Java, you can write Java, and that's like valid Groovy. You can use packages like in the Java ecosystem with Groovy, and then you know, you can just kind of use the Groovy features that it puts you know, on top of, you know, the normal Java stuff. And it turns out that there's a lot of like really great patterns and features, you know, that Groovy gives you, not only for like building a framework like this, and it has like very strong meta programming capabilities, but also just like the general patterns that it kind of like introduces when you program are very similar to kind of JavaScript. They're very dynamic and clean and concise, and it pairs really well with the technologies that, you know, we're kind of forced to use on the front end. And so you'll see here that you can kind of write a web app with Spaceport without using a lot of JavaScript and CSS, but it's really not like you know, discouraged to, you know, use those things. In fact, you can use them just kind of straight up vanilla. You know, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. So I'm going to try to do some coding, and we're gonna build an app, hopefully, with Spaceport. And I did a trial run. The app should work, but of course, you know, or Biden there. But we'll see if I don't trip up the stairs, right? Oh, yeah, sorry. There we go. This, let me share the screen.
You're gonna be doing it on Google Chrome, right?
Yep. Okay.
Now you can drink that.
All right. You see that okay? It's not super bright, but of course it's great out too. So, okay, so what I have here is my code editor open, and locally I have, you know, just a really super simple file scaffolding. There's lots of, you know, features that, you know, require folders, but really, like, to get like a basic web app up, you need very little. And so you'll see I kind of just have a folder called assets, and I've just brought in like a couple things. So HUD core is just Spaceport's kind of JavaScript front end. You have to include that when you're doing some features like reactivity. But then I brought in a logo, and then I'm going to use this QR code JavaScript library, and nothing special there. And then I'm using my little CSS framework of choice. And then I have a folder here called Launchpad. And so Launchpad is like it's a server-side templating engine that comes with Spaceport. And if you haven't noticed, there's like a slight sci-fi theme, you know, going on there. And with Launchpad, you can do you know, server-side elements. And so they're kind of a hybrid between web components and kind of server-side binding, and there's also reactivity baked in that, and server functions and stuff like that. We're not going to get into that today, but and then the parts will kind of be where our GHTML templates sit, and so we'll get to that real quick here. And then I'm kind of slightly off the screen. Yeah, there we go. That's much better. And then my library folder is just you know, that has like my Spaceport jar in there, and you know, like my Groovy jar, and so just basically any of the server side libraries that I need. And that's just for my code editor, really. So that wouldn't need to like be there in production. And then my source code will fit in this modules portion. And so if you're familiar with Java, you know that it's a compiled language, and so you're really like kind of, you know, building your project and then packaging it up and sending it off. You know, if you change something, you know, you recompile, right? And so Spaceport kind of leverages some groovy functionality that kind of like dynamically compiles like on the fly. And so that compile process is really just kind of like in the background. And in fact, over there on the right, you'll kind of see the server, like, you know, just, you know, spin when we start doing things. And part of that is like compiling when it sees files that get changed. And so I'll start with just like this app.groovy, and you'll see here, this is my screen, and this is where, you know, we'll see the web app kind of come alive, and right now it is working, but it says there's a HTTP error 404 not found, which there's you know, nothing to be found right now, and so that it is working as intended. But what we're going to do is we're going to build like a basic like guest book app. And so you know, you always need like kind of a code entry point. And so Spaceport gives you this alert system. Well, I'm going to build my class first, so I'm just going to call this app. And I'm going to use Spaceport alert here, and I'm going to say on dash hit. And so what this will do, What is Alt? Option?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. I'm a Linux guy, so I don't know the command option stuff. And so what I've told Spaceport here is, hey, every time the user requests on the web server just the root of the web server, run this method, and it gives you this object called a result, and in this case it's an HTTP result. And so the result lets you kind of like do some things to it, and so when it comes out the other end and serves it to the person, you know, you can do things like, you know, setting the status code, or sending like a redirect URL. In fact, I'm old school, and I like that index.html. And so what we're going to do in this is just set a redirect URL to go to index.html. And I'll add another alert here for when index.html is hit. And Google Copilot's pretty good at Spaceport. I don't know what to say. And so we'll just have kind of proof of concept here. But another thing you can do with that HTTP result is write something to the client, right? Hello world. Hello world. My God. Okay. Right. Okay. So yeah. So hello world. You know, isn't HTML great? Like it just, you could literally give it like unclosed tags, like no tags at all, and it's like, yeah, here you go. I love it. But okay, so I'm gonna make a new launch pad. And what's that? And so Launchpad is Spaceport's like templating system. And so this will let me make like another kind of HTML-ish file in another folder. And when my alert comes in for index, instead of, you know, just writing a string, you know, in that method, I can just kind of pass it off to Launchpad, and it'll assemble some parts, and it'll launch it back to that result that then goes to the client. And so let's see here. So instead of writing to the client, I'm going to use Launchpad to assemble a list of files here. I'm going to launch to that result. Let's see. There we go. Okay, now before I do that, I need to add a part here. And so I'm just going to add a new file. I'm going to call it index.ghtml. And
GHTML template language that you made?
That is a templating language that I made, yep. And so it's, you'll see that it's like syntax highlighting and stuff. And that's because it's like just very loosely based on like a Groovy server page, so a GSP. And so, that's something that's, it's kind of a play on the JSP, the Java server page. That's made possible with, I think, a framework called Grails, which is kind of like a version of Ruby on Rails for Groovy. And so let's see. So we just have, now H1 with the hello world. So let me save that. And now you got an H1 there. Okay, and so all right, so So one thing that we're going to find ourselves doing is kind of all of the little boilerplate, and I'm going to keep it like to the bare minimum, but there's a lot of boilerplate that comes with web pages, right? You have your HTML and your meta tags and your header and maybe scripts that you're loading and stuff like that. And so another thing that it'll let you do is it'll kind of let you launch it with a so-called vessel, and you can think of it as like a wrapper. And so I'm just going to write a wrapper here, and I'm just going to kind of build out very basic. Yeah, sure. That looks great. So I've, no, that should be assets. Whoops. Yep, head. Good call. All right, so I got my head and my title. I'm linking my CSS. I'm linking that QR code JavaScript library that I need. And I'm going to use just this meta viewport tag, and that just makes things look nice on mobile. And I'll have a body and a main. And then here's where I can put my payload. And what that'll do, I'm gonna add my other yeah, there we go. I'm gonna add my other JavaScript library there. And okay, so I'm just gonna add an image here, and it's gonna be the logo. And just going to give it like just a size here. So I'm going to say 20 M points. And with my little CSS framework, I can center it and give it a little bit of padding. So let's see how that's working. So back to here, and so the only thing I need to do is give it my vessel. And so now what it'll do is it'll load that wrapper and then shove that part in the middle of it where that payload was. And so now if I make different parts, I can use the same wrapper. All right, so back to my index here. How are we doing on time? Good? Okay.
It's a nice logo, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I did. I sure did. All right. It is. If this goes good, I'll buy it. It's 65 bucks. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now is just make a we're going to make a little window that has a little form that you fill out, and it's going to allow you to open a guest book. And so you can imagine if you're having an event, you might want to supply a guest book for people to kind of sign it, and then you can know who's there. And then the other people involved, might also benefit from kind of knowing, who was there if it was like a networking event. And so I'm going to just kind of get that going here. And so I'm going to use a details and summary. It's going to say make a new guest book. All right. And then I'm going to use a panel, which is not a normal HTML element, but it is a it's something defined in my CSS. And so I have a summary and the details, and so that'll make it so that it kind of drops down. You'll see here. And I'm actually just going to make it open by default. I believe that's how you do that. Let's save that. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so now we got this little form. Yep, and it has an input called name and an input called email, and so that should be about all we need, at least for this example. And then it has a button down there for submitting it. And so you'll see that it sends it to the same page, the index.html, with a method of post. And so this is using just like standard HTML form. And so it has the ability to do that. It also has the ability to do fancier things, which we'll see in a minute. But this should be good enough. But what you'll notice is that right now our page is catching both a get and a post. In fact, it's catching every method. And so one of the things that the GHTML lets you do is do some server-side logic. And so I'm going to open up a server-side logic block. That's you do it like that. And I'm going to say if context that method equals get, and we're going to do this. The form that we just laid out there. And then I'm going to say if it equals post, then we're going to do something else. Okay, so if it does a post, we need to make a new guest book, populate the fields. We're going to put that in the database, and then it should probably give like some kind of feedback, right? And it's also going to generate a QR code so that people can scan it and open up the guest book on their device. And so let's just see like where we're at right now. And so let me kind of finish this piece of logic. All right, and so whatever's outside of the logic block is just kind of standard HTML. And you could put JavaScript in there, you could put CSS in there. Yeah, great. Okay, so I'm gonna use that same kind of details look, it's that's actually pretty close. So so inside there, I'm gonna have just a little thing that says scan the QR code, and above that it's going to show that it's the guest book for the name of the thing. Let's just see what that looks like. All right, so I got that. Hello world, and we got a little error. Getting ahead of ourselves. All right, the QR code needs something to output, so I'm just gonna give it a string. All right, cool. So you'll see that now guest book for hello world. So that's that same input that we put in that request, that get request, and so Spaceport has intercepted that and automatically put like that form data in a variable called data, and so you can get that. There's kind of like a string interpolation with these $ curly braces, and so you can see there I got like data.name, so that's the name of the input coming in. Let's see here. So, I believe. See, we got something going on there. So script. Yeah, live debugging. So it should show. Yeah. Escape. Look at that. Short code not defined. Nope, assets. Not used to this keyboard. Got to give it the. Again. There we go. Okay. And so, so right now that's just kind of like all in good. It's like showing it to the screen, but it hasn't actually like committed anything to the database. And so, so what I can do is make an object that will represent the guest book in the database. And so I'm just going to call it guest book.
The database in this case is just Couch.
It's Couch, yep. And so Spaceport ships with just kind of like a generic document, but you're also able to like extend that to give it like kind of extra capability. And so, you know, one of the nice things, you could like do it all dynamically, but you can also type it. And so you could imagine, I'm gonna make just a couple kind of fields, you know, for this database that are gonna hold the information. And so one of the things I need to do is just tell the document what's kind of custom about it. And so I'm gonna have just a property called info, a property called participants, and what that's going to do is it's going to serialize that when it puts it back in the database. And so I'm also going to make like an inner static class here, and it's going to kind of act like a schema. And so I'm going to have the event name, the event email, and then I'm going to use like this the cookie that it's sending as like the session ID. You know, because we're not going to build out user auth, but it's just going to use that to like know who like owns that event. So that's very simple. And then I'm going to have a similar schema for the participant. So name, email, it'll keep track of the time signed, and then also like their session cookie so that you can know who they are. And then participants, those are obviously the people who sign the guest book. So it's going to be a list of that inner class participant schema, just like that. And then the info, that's just going to hold like the specific details about it. And that looks pretty good, actually. So all right. So all I have here is a document that kind of like represents the guest book itself. And so when we click on that form, it's going to make a new document and then take that form data that we gave it, and it's going to apply that to that document and then save it to the database. So back to our index here, we show it, which is all nice and good. But we also need to like actually make the data here, and we're getting close, I promise. But you can stop me at any point. Yeah, that's true. All right, and so just like that. So I'm gonna use the guest book. I gotta import that here. Struggling with your keyboard, dude. Yeah. Come on. Let's do it like this. So we're going to say get new, and the guest books is the name of the database. I've already populated that. And instead of trying to use your keyboard, I'm going to let it do its thing. Okay. Oh, damn it. Command? Nope. I don't know if it's because I'm like in
You're remoted into your machine at home.
right. There we go. All right, so I got my new document. It's setting the info name, info email, info owner cookie, and then it's getting the correct cookie, which is spaceport UUID. So that's what it sets internally, and then we're going to save it. All right, and so now that should be all that's needed there, and we're going to redirect then to whatever guestbooking.com/G, and then we'll have like the ID of the guest book after that. So let's see how that looks. Yeah. All right, so view guest book. Awesome. So it takes me to a new page, and so I need to go back to my app here, and I'm going to make just a new endpoint here, and you can use regular expression like in the alerts, and so this is saying any HTTP hit to /G and then /whatever .* matches pretty much anything, and then it's in parentheses, and so that exposes it as like a group. And so we're going to assemble a new HTML file called guestbook.html, and we're going to use that same wrapper, and so that's kind of where that comes in handy. All right, next page here. Okay, so one thing I'm going to need to do is now fetch that guest book from the database, and so I'm just going to call it GB, and we're going to say get if exists. Oh, you know what we didn't do here? Oh no, we didn't. Okay, guest book. There we go, imported. So that should give us our guest book as we go to that page, and we can kind of confirm that just by doing that. And so that should kind of spit out our guest book parts, guestbook.jsgmail. Pepper.
There's a double on.
Ah, good call. That'll do it. Name. Done. View. All right, cool. So you see the contents of our database right there, or of our document in the database. And so we're going to go real fast here. So it's going to be kind of ugly, but it'll work. So probably what we need to do is just, kind of have, the name of the guest book, right? And so we can just say guest book for GB info name. And so you see it's all typed there and everything. And so now we'll see something a little different, guest book for name. And the reason we're not seeing our logo is because we are now on a different path. Assets logo.
Oh, it's not. It looks like the side, the source is not loaded.
I don't think it needs to be. I don't know. It's not important. Okay, and so now we just need another form, and this form is going to have our name and email, and we're basically going to assign the guest book. And so this time, instead of like sending it like as a post request, we'll use like a server side event. And so we'll say on submit, and we can give it just kind of like this inline code. And so we're going to add a participant. We're going to give it the name and the email of the transmission that's occurring between client and server, and so that's the IDs, or the names rather. And so very similar to like the other way, it's kind of like a multi-page app. This is more like a kind of a single-page app behavior. It's going to send along the cookie, and then we're gonna prompt the client to just reload the page. So we don't need this method anymore. All right, and we need to make this new method in our guest book. So that should be really easy. So we're going to say void add participant. We're going to take in the name, the email, the cookie, and then we're going to make a new participant schema. And Groovy has this cool thing called tap. So we can insert those fields, and then that makes our participant, and we'll add it back to the participants, and then we'll save it, and then sure, we'll also update it, which will make it reactive. We'll see in a minute here. So, all right, so let's see here. So we have guest book for name. Yeah, I must have. Okay. Jeremy, hello. Sure. All right. So it added it to the database. You didn't really see it, but it did. And so now we just need to like show who has signed the guest book. So I'm in my guest book here. And so we can do that just by, let's see, we're going to do it. We're going to combine participants. And I don't like that H2, but we'll do a strong name, email, triple string here, triple quote string. Do that. Come on. Let's see what we got. 9. Just one more curly bracket. Yep. Oh, come on. There we go. It's gonna be something stupid here. Oh, 3 curly brackets. Justin. There we go. Let's start all over. Toledo codes, view for Toledo codes, Jeremy. Hello, hello. Done. It should be enough.
Right at the end. Right?
Yep, yeah, I am right at the end there. And so I'm actually just gonna, I coded this very same thing earlier. And so let me just delete all this. It'll look all very familiar. Yeah. So just delete these. I'm just gonna drag them back in place and it's gonna work, like I swear. All right. Put these in parts. Yep. Put that there. Yep. Put that there. Yep. And that's weird. Yes. There we go. Okay. So we'll go back. So make a new guest book. Name of my event. In fact, I'll make it a little bit bigger here.
So that on the right, is that the database?
Yeah, that's the server like spinning away. We've generated a couple of errors, so it's a little bit ugly, but okay. So Toledo codes. Bummer.
So it's like typical app development.
Damn it. Okay. It's just somehow it's back to that wrapper. View guest book. Jeremy. There we go. I don't know how long that was. Thanks for bearing with me. It took a lot not to like kind of go off the rails and just kind of show you all the other things that it does. But yeah, coding under pressure, it's never fun. I like to like be in my element, listening to some music and have this little console here like taking up a whole screen. You know what I mean? Error messages are informative, it turns out. So yeah, we kind of did that without any error messages. But yeah, anyway, that's Spaceport, kind of app from the ground up. I could literally like tie that to a domain name. We don't really have time to do that, but and it would be live, it's not really multi-tenant, but yeah, multi-user talking to a database, live production. Yeah, thank you. Right, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yep. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll get you signed out of here.
All right.
All right. So thank you all so much for coming. The bit that I was going to talk about here at the end, thanks, Jeremy. This is like
We landed.
we did. We got there. It took some time, but we got there. Yeah, thank you guys so much. This is the first demo day. A little bit, rocky, but we'll get there eventually. This is only our second event, so you can forgive us. I'm sure. I hope. Cool. So the other thing I was going to mention was WTA Consulting is hiring. I've got the link right here. WTAconsulting.com/careers-WTA-consulting. They have some jobs here. There is a few software development jobs here on their website. I'll wait till I see a few folks putting up their phones. The next one is, this is something I just recently learned about, the jobs.toledoregion.com. You can go to this website, and as well, they have a bunch of jobs. This isn't just software engineers. There's like entry-level bankers. There's everything, but there is a type selector. You can go check for like a full-time position in, software development, data engineering, etc. There are companies hiring in Toledo, it turns out. You wouldn't think so, but they are. And the last couple things here. The next event. So this event, this isn't normally what we do, the demo day here. We usually do talks. I guess these were talks, just disparate talks. But the next event we have, we're doing these Toledo Codes events every third Thursday here at the Tech Loft. So the next one is in May, the third Thursday. That is being put on by a gentleman named Blade Frisch. He's a PhD in computer science, but he's doing something on user research, so UX, something our resident Keith Instone knows quite a bit about. That talk is called Putting the U in User Research. Would love to see more of you guys out here, you folks out here tonight. And lastly, we can't thank our hosts, the Toledo Tech Loft, enough. There is co-working here. The co-working is about $150 a month to get a membership. You get 9 to 5 access to the facility. There is an upgraded membership, which gives you 24/7 access to the facility. But that also lets you rent the conference rooms. It lets you use the meeting booths here. There are classrooms. There's a lot happening in this space. And so these, by supporting the Toledo Tech Loft, you help support more of these types of events, especially if you want to see these kind of things in Toledo. And with that, thank you all so much.
that I've been working on for it.
Yeah. I have